Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, beginning the briefing.
This morning, faced with the very real possibility of a potential immediate shutdown of the entire DACA program by a federal court, President Trump took the responsible and constitutional step of announcing that the administration will be phasing out the program over the next 2 years. Today's September 5th deadline was set by the plaintiffs presenting the administration with two and only two real options to choose from: the likely sudden cancellation of the program by a judge, or an orderly wind down that preserves the rule of law and returns the question to the legislative branch where it belongs. The president chose the latter of the two options. The president made the best decision in light of the fact that the system set up by the Obama administration in clear violation of federal law. President Obama even admitted this himself when announcing the program, calling it a temporary stopgap measure and calling on Congress to act. DACA was initiated after Congress explicitly rejected the same proposal in legislative form. In other words, President Obama didn't just suspend federal law, but implemented a policy Congress had explicitly rejected. There's a misconception that DACA primarily serves as a shield from deportation. This is misleading. DACA grants work authorization to nearly 800,000 individuals who are not legally authorized to work. DACA recipients whose average age is in their 20s were not an enforcement priority before, and they certainly won't become a priority now. The priorities remain the same: criminals, security threats, and those who repeatedly violate our immigration laws. The main effect of today's announcement is that work permits and other government benefits are being gradually phased out. But rather than leave DACA recipients and the men and women of immigration enforcement in confusing limbo while the DACA program was challenged by states in the same court that struck down another of the previous administration's unlawful immigration orders earlier this year, President Obama is laying out a responsible 24-month phase-out. President Trump. No permits will be expiring for another 6 months, and permits will remain active for up to 2 full years. The president was elected partly on his promise to deliver meaningful immigration reform that puts the jobs, wages, and security of the American people first. He is delivering on that promise every day, and he has put forward serious proposals to Congress that would responsibly end illegal immigration, prevent visa overstays, remove dangerous criminals, protect American jobs and wages, and create a merit-based system that grows our middle class. These are not just President Trump's priorities, they are the American people's priorities. For decades now, the American people, immigrant and U.S. born, have asked Congress to establish a lawful immigration system that protects our country. They've asked for strong, secure borders. They've asked us to protect American security and American jobs. And they've asked us to have compassion, not only for those who are here illegally, but for unemployed American citizens, including millions of unemployed African American and Hispanic citizens who continue to suffer under a broken system. The president's DACA decision today brings us closer to a safer, fairer, and legal immigration system. Now that he has ended this unsustainable and unconstitutional program imposed by the previous administration, the president is calling on the men and women in Congress to fulfill their duty to the American people by truly reforming our immigration system for the good of all people. And with that, I'll take your questions. John.
Sarah, one question that went unanswered today was some 359 members of the DACA program enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2016. Their tour of duty would run standard 4 years, I would assume, but their DACA status would only last 2 years. If there's no fix by Congress before March the 5th, do you know what will happen to those people? Will they become ineligible to remain in the military, or will there be special dispensation? Is that worked out?
We have confidence that Congress is going to step up and do their job. This is something that needs to be fixed legislatively, and we have confidence that they're going to do that, and we stand ready and willing to work with them in order to accomplish responsible immigration reform, and that would include DACA is certainly part of that process.
There are many Republicans who believe that getting something on the Republican side is not going to be easy, that the divisions that we see between the center and the right in the Republican Party will become only deeper. What gives you confidence in this?
With all due respect, I don't think the American people elected Congress to do things that were easy. They elected them to make a government that works, to work properly, and to work for American people, and that's their job. And if they can't do it, then they need to get out of the way and let somebody else who can take on a heavy lift and get things accomplished. Major?
Sarah, in the context of DACA as a piece of legislation, would the president be willing to sign only something that addresses that, or would it also need to have components of the RAISE Act? Would there need to be funding for the border wall? Or would he be willing to sign something that simply addresses DACA legislatively?
The president wants to see responsible immigration reform, and he wants that to be part of it. But again, we can't take just a one-piece fix. We've got to do an overall immigration reform that's responsible and, frankly, that's lawful, and that's what the president wants to see Congress do.
And what would be the priorities for him in a comprehensive reform package? Would it be DACA, and what else?
And certainly to control the border, to improve vetting and immigration security, enforce our laws, and do things that protect American workers.
Let me ask you a question on North Korea. In the president's mind, is it an option to simply contain a North Korea that possesses nuclear weapons?
Certainly the priority of the administration is to have denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, and it's also to protect American citizens. But certainly the priority would be that. Phil?
Sarah, you're talking about a comprehensive immigration fix from Congress in a span of 6 months, and much to the president's frustration, Congress hasn't been able to really do much at all this year. What gives him confidence that they're going to be able to act on immigration? Has he spoken to any congressional leaders since making this DACA decision?
He's spoken to a number of leaders, but hopefully, as you guys all know, they just came back from a 3-week vacation. I think that they should be rested and ready to take on some big challenges that America faces.
Why put the fate of the lives of 800,000
Because it's Congress's job to legislate. It's not the president's job to create law. It's not. It's Congress's job to create legislation. I think that's something we all learned in 8th grade civics. I know I certainly did, and I think that every member of Congress should know that that is their duty, and we're asking them to fulfill it. It's pretty simple. I think that the American people elected them to do it. And again, if they can't, then they should get out of the way and let somebody else take their job that can actually get something done. Steve?
What consideration are you giving to negotiations with North Korea over the nuclear program?
Look, I think in terms of negotiations, we're looking at putting aggressive measures both diplomatically, economically, and as we've said, all options are on the table, and we're going to continue to push for a safer and denuclearized Korean Peninsula, and that's the priority here. Jim?
It sounds like the president is saying, and you're saying, that if we're going to allow the Dreamers to stay in this country, we want a wall. Is that accurate?
I don't think that the president's been shy about the fact that he wants a wall, and certainly something that he feels is an important part of a responsible immigration reform package.
Can I ask you one follow-up question? Why did the president not come out and make this announcement himself today? Why did he leave it to his attorney general? It's his decision. These kids in their lives are on the line because of what he's doing. Why not have him come out and make this
It's
call?
in large part a big part of the legal process. This was deemed illegal by, I think, just about every legal expert that you can find in the country, including many of Obama's own attorneys, said that this was not lawful program.
Right.
And therefore, it would be the Department of Justice to make a legal recommendation, and that's what they did.
But the attorney general
Matthew?
said,
Thank you, Sarah. Would quick question, yes or no, and then a follow-up. Would the president sign a standalone DACA extension?
Again, I've addressed this. The president is hoping to work with Congress on responsible immigration reform, and I laid out the priorities that the administration has on that front.
And so the president's voiced and you voiced some objections to the constitutionality of DACA. Where does the president stand on the program itself?
I think that in the answers that I've given is that the president has been, and I think part of the reason that this is complicated and one of the reasons he's wrestled with this back and forth in large part is because this is not an easy one. and certainly something where he wants to be able to make a decision with compassion, but at the same time, you can't allow emotion to govern, and this has to be something where the law is put in place, and it's something that he would support if Congress puts it before him.
You would support it if it came with, I'm just trying to get
Again,
the
responsible
specifics. Does it
immigration
need
reform.
to
We
be
can't
covered?
just have one tweak to the immigration system. We need really big fixes and big reform in this process, and we've laid out the principles that we feel are important in that. John Decker.
Thank you, Sarah. There's a position. What?
Sorry, John Decker.
Thanks, Sarah.
Sorry, I
The
looked down.
president, as recently as February, had expressed sympathy for the DACA recipients. Today, we heard in a statement from House Speaker Paul Ryan, who said that these so-called dreamers have done nothing wrong. Was this a difficult decision for the president to take this drastic action, given what he said as recently as February? And does he agree with House Speaker Paul Ryan that these individuals, 800,000 individuals, have done nothing wrong?
I think largely yes, and that's why I said it was one of the things that the president wrestled with this decision all throughout the weekend. So I kind of addressed that, so I think that's pretty clear.
It was just this weekend that he wrestled with it? It wasn't leading up to it?
Well, no, I mean, I think we've been clear throughout the process. There wasn't a final decision made until over the weekend because of the back and forth and the complexity of the issue and the ability to make the right decision and allow Congress to actually do their job and provide a fix instead of just stopping the program. And that was a big point for the president. Jordan?
Thanks, sir. I want to drill down a little more on what you mean when you say the president wants to act regarding compassion with regard to these DACA recipients. Does that mean offering them a pathway to citizenship?
I think it means providing a more permanent solution that's done through the legislative process, done legally and responsibly, unlike the previous administration.
A permanent solution, does that mean you're like giving them legal status legislatively? Like, what is the permanent solution that
I think that's something we want to work with Congress to determine exactly what that looks like, but there has to be, something needs to be done. It's Congress's job to do that, and we want to be part of that process and make sure that there is a fix put in place and that this isn't ignored like it has been for the last 5 years.
If Congress doesn't get it done by the March 5th deadline, considering the president's personal feelings about these DACA recipients, would he consider giving them additional time to get a solution passed?
We'd like to have confidence that Congress will actually do their job. We're going to ask that they do that and that they allow us to work with them and be part of that process. But again, if Congress doesn't want to do the job that they were elected to do, then maybe they should get out of the way and let someone else do it. Stephen?
Sir, when we heard from the Attorney General this morning, he repeatedly referred to DACA recipients as illegal aliens, and at one point he intimated that hundreds of thousands of Americans did not get jobs that were taken by DACA recipients. Does the President share that view?
I think that it's a known fact that there are over 4 million unemployed Americans in the same age group as those that are DACA recipients, that over 950,000 of those are African Americans in the same age group, over 870,000 unemployed Hispanics in the same age group. Those are large groups of people that are unemployed that could possibly have those jobs. But again, we're looking for fixes. We're not looking for complaints, but we're looking for solutions, and that's our focus moving forward.
Reconcile those statistics with the idea that hundreds of thousands of people, if the president gets what he wants, would achieve legal status. How do you reconcile those two competing interests?
Well, I think one of the first things is the president is looking to create a whole lot more jobs in America so that it addresses both problems. There's a reason he's focused largely since day one of taking office in creating a better market for businesses to create jobs, to hire more people, higher wages. He's gotten rid of over 800 regulations that have helped do just that. 1.2 million jobs have been created since he came into office, and every single day we're looking for more ways to grow that number. And so we're doing our part to address and create an environment that allows people to have more jobs, and we're going to continue doing that. Kristen?
Thanks. The president vowed to treat dreamers with, quote, great heart. How is this move treating them with great heart?
I think by allowing an orderly process to take place. You know, there's a lot of people that I've seen attacking the president for not showing the level of compassion that they feel like he should. To me, the most heartless thing that I've seen all day today is that Democrats like Nancy Pelosi are using this decision today for fundraising while the president's trying to fix the situation. They are politicizing an issue instead of actually doing their job